Hi, it's Kevin Lobates here, and today's video is a computer security video, hence the Resonance security hat. And today I want to talk about passkeys and security keys. And here are some security keys. Just to show you, they look a bit like USB sticks. And these things are the latest attempt by this computer security industry to organize identity and access management. And that is the setting up of computer systems so only authorized people can see and change data and unauthorized people can't. Now, if you've watched previous videos of mine, you'll have seen me talking about how computer security and how identity and access management has evolved over time, and as a result we now have this rather rickety system where each layer has been built on top of the previous one in response to the activities of hackers. Username and password turned out not to work because people are bad at picking passwords. Two-factor authentication has in some cases been compromised. Certainly sending one-time codes through email or phones doesn't work because hackers can either spoof the phones or they can phish people into entering the code even when they weren't logging in. And these security keys are a new attempt to try to find a secure way to allow people to log in and to stop the hackers from pretending to be them. And if you've worked in Web3 or blockchain, then the way that these things function is going to be rather familiar because they use digital signing and asymmetric key cryptography. The standard for this is called FIDO2, and in fact the elliptic curve digital signing algorithm on the SECP256K1 curve, which is used in Bitcoin and Ethereum, is one of the digital signing algorithms that is supported by these devices. So the principle is rather simple. You have a private key that you keep safe and secure, either on a hardware device or it can be implemented in software on your phone or on your computer. And then when you want to log in somewhere, the site sends a challenge. Your key digitally signs that challenge, and then when the digital signature is received by the site you're trying to log into, it can look at the digital signature, extract the public key and check that the signature is valid and thereby identify you. And this removes the need for having a password, hence the system is called a passwordless identification system, and it's meant to be more secure. And I would say that it is better than the existing systems using username password logins. Certainly it removes the need for password managers, and we've had problems with those. For example, LastPass allowing their database full of encrypted passwords to be extracted, and the hackers are slowly decrypting those passwords through brute force over time. It overcomes the problem of phishing to get people to enter security codes that have been emailed to them or texted to them on their phone. It overcomes SIM jacking, where hackers manage to pretend to be your phone and get the code sent to them. So that is an advancement. The problem that we have with this is that, yet again, it's a new system that developers are going to have to become familiar with to implement it on sites. And as a result, although we're starting to see more sites use this passkey or passwordless login system, it's not ubiquitous yet. Now, the FIDO2 standard was released in 2018, so it's already 7 years old, and yet there are plenty of sites that don't support these devices. I think that over time we're going to see this become more and more prevalent. You'll notice I have two of them. The reason for that is that I like to have a backup. You can register two keys against your user account, and then if one of your keys breaks, because these things are not cast iron, it's computer hardware, so it'll break over time. That way I have a second one as a backup. The downside is they're not cheap. They're about 30, 40, 50 euros each. So I can see that companies are going to be the first ones to use them, and private individuals, you're probably going to have to be more security concerned than the average person. I certainly don't, for example, see my wife rushing out to buy one of these keys because she uses computers mainly for browsing the internet and finding out how to do things relating to her craft hobbies. So Then I thought one final thing I'll address before this video gets too long is a confusion that I first had when I hit this, which is you'll see sites talking about pass keys sometimes, and other times they're talking about security keys, and they don't make it very clear what the difference is between the two, but the difference is actually quite simple. A pass key is an implementation of this FIDO2 login system, and it may be implemented in hardware such as one of these keys, or it may be implemented in software in a program on your computer or your phone. A security key uses exactly the same system, but it has to be on hardware. You can't have it on software. So I don't know why, for example, Google makes it complicated by having both terms on there and not really explaining what they are. I had to go and Google it. The other thing I've had with this is, for example, one of these keys, when I try to use it, Google claims that I have to enter a PIN code for it to unlock it and allow it to do the digital signing, even though I never set a PIN code on it. That's actually the reason why I went and bought a second one, because I'm now left with only 2 attempts on my first key to enter the correct PIN code that, as far as I'm aware, doesn't even exist. Some other things about these. Oh yeah, you'll notice there's this funny little gold circle. So that is to it's like a touch thing, so that when you try to get the key to do the signing authentication for you, you have to touch that before the device will actually do it. And the reason for that is to ensure that there's actually a human being at the computer. I could plug it into my USB port, go away, and then there's a possibility of a hacker cracking into my computer and getting the key to trigger a signing action without me being there. That's overcome by this little gold disc having to be touched by a human finger for the device to actually spring into action and do its signing. And that prevents remote attacks by requiring someone to be physically present. Of course, if somebody breaks into my house and the key is there on my desk, then they will be able to use it, but I can secure that by making sure I remember to lock the house when I go out. Anyway, I think I've probably been going on a bit too long, but these things are going to be the future for now. Of course, some point in the more distant future, there'll be something else coming along again. But it's certainly worth looking into if you're concerned about your computer security. This is the thing that you should be moving towards. This is the latest step in overcoming the hackers. And you can always get in touch with Resonance Security if you want some advice on how to go about setting up this stuff. Because, as is always the case with computer security, it gets horrendously complicated under the hood. And you really need to make sure that the people that you're working with know what they're talking about. That's it for today. I hope you found this little introduction to passwordless logins interesting and useful, and I hope to see you in the next video soon. Bye for now.